Thank you, everybody, for making the time to hear this afternoon, and thanks, ACS, for inviting me. It's nice to see some familiar faces and some new faces. So what are we here today, and what are we going to talk about? So first of all, elevating team performance, cultivating a resilience culture. How can we do it, right? Welcome again, everybody, and I'll start with a quote. Insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. Albert Einstein. So maybe turnover is high, maybe people like, but they leave, or maybe the team dynamics are not quite what you'd like it to be. What can you do a little bit different, a little bit better? Are we focusing too much on the one high performer rather than the team? So how can we look at this with more holistic approach and based on the research and data and do better? So a dense slide, I wish we had a whole day, but we only have 30 minutes. People keep on track with my time management. But we'll talk about high performance. We'll talk about the TPS being the foundation of team learning and then team performance. So TPS is not, I'll refer to team psychological safety as TPS here today. It's not only about, oh, it's good to have, I feel safe talking. It's a lot more. There are 7 elements, there are 5 foundations, and how can we work on this? So I'll talk about the research from Dr. Amy Edmondson, the Google research. I'll give you a glimpse of the 7 elements, and I'll talk a little bit about the report, but that's about it from me for the day, and you go to the breakout rooms. But I know you will, my hope for this 30 minutes is that you come out with at least one takeaway. What can I be more aware of? What can I do better? So to begin, I would love for you to get your phones. I think we do need phones for Slido, right? Sorry to tap into technology. What makes a high-performing and happy team? So I'd love to hear from you. What do you think makes a high-performing team? As leaders, what would you like? I mean, what would make a high-performing team? What makes a happy performing team? Do I need to press something to come next? And it will come. All right. Let's see. Trust. What else? You can put more than one thing, right? High-performing teams requires more than one thing. Clear goals and expectations, common goals and trust, fair job allocation, inspiring and encouraging culture, no dictatorship, that's for sure. Feedback, trust, respect, purpose, communication, clear goals and expectations. I love it. Teamwork. Yes, a lot of teamwork is needed. Collaboration, willingness to fail, clarity, ownership. Love it. Mutual respect. Listening, active listening. Fairness, understanding, common purpose. Know what other team members are doing, right? That involves communication, clear communication, inclusive. All right. Okay, a lot of great stuff, right? And I think as leaders and as team members, we want to get there. We want our teams to have it. How can we enhance it? So today I'll share the framework, which I touched a little bit on already, which is team psychological safety is the foundation for them team learning and then team performance. So how can we achieve all those things that we want in our team? Collaboration, trust, better communication, counting on one another. So if we define high-performing teams, I think most of us would agree that a high-performing team has a high level of positivity, but also productivity. If people are very positive, but they don't deliver, that's not a high-performing team, right? It's great to have positivity, but that alone won't deliver. And if people are just focused on producing, we're not a factory producing the same thing, right? We're humans. It's a human-centered approach. So we want to be on the high positivity, high productivity zone. That's our aim. So this, you'll get the slides afterwards, but I just want to point out some of the characteristics, right? So high productivity and high positivity, you see successful, fun, there's synergy, There's challenging goals, inspiring vision, proactive, open communication, great teamwork. How do we continue to improve? And from the glimpse of the survey, you're already doing a lot of great stuff. So let's not look for problems. Let's look for ways to improve, right? To grow a little bit. Now, a lot of research shows that 90% of employees spend 1/3 to half of each day working in teams. 91% of employees and executives believe teams are central to their organization's success. 86% of employees and leaders believe effective teamwork is more important than 5 years ago. But yet, a lot of us do what? We focus on that one individual, that one high-performing, right? And then when it comes to the team dynamics, we don't give enough attention. How can we, as a team, do better? The reality is the super chicken. Has anyone here, can I have a show of hands, has anyone here heard of the super chicken experiment? Anybody? Bueller. Okay, so after today, I would love for all of you to go on YouTube and check the TED Talk on the super chicken. What is this about? It's actually a research that was done where they put the biggest, healthiest chicken into an area to produce eggs. And they had another, how do you call it, a farm area where they put average and different chicken, okay? And what happened with the super chicken? They were producing good eggs at first, a lot, and good eggs, and the production was high-performing production, machine chicken. Then what happened? They started killing each other, literally killing each other. Does that happen in the corporate world sometimes? Hopefully not in the NGO space, but the super chicken wanting to protect their turf, to kill the super chicken, right? So the research actually shows that it's better to have good enough chicken, good quality employees and people, right? But people that collaborate together so you don't feel like you need to kill the other in order to show your place and to produce and to perform, all right? So I encourage you to check the TED Talk and for us to think a bit more in terms of the team. How can we do better and improve the dynamics of the team? So how to develop a dream team then, right? We all mentioned some great words, and team psychological safety being the basis for team learning, for team performance. So everybody agrees teams are important, the research shows. Now, psychological safety is the basic. So psychological safety is broadly defined as a climate in which people are comfortable expressing and being themselves. More specifically, when people have psychological safety at work, they feel comfortable sharing concerns and mistakes without fear of embarrassment or punishment. Definition by Dr. Amy Edmondson in her book, Fearless Organization. So where do we begin? So when we think about psychological safety, if we go into the basic psychological safety as a human need, we can look into the Maslow pyramid, or if your basic needs as a human, of food or survival, right? And the Chun psychological safety idea. I'm not a psychologist, but what we will focus today is moving psychological safety into the group and team level. And who popularized and did this really well was Dr. Amy Edmondson in 1999. So Dr. Amy Edmondson did a study at Harvard, and actually her study came up very different than what she thought she would have. So, Bueller. Thank you. Okay, so Dr. Amy Edmondson did the research in 1999 on team psychological safety, a shared belief by members of a team that the team is safe for interpersonal risk-taking. Now, what happened in that research in 1999? Dr. Amy Edmondson actually wanted to find out, it was done in a hospital, and she was researching what made a high-performing team in a hospital. So when you look at doctors, nurses, assistants, right? She in her initial research, she thought she would find that the teams that made fewer mistakes were higher performing. But to her surprise, what she found out is that teams that made more mistakes but shared and talked about it and learned from it were higher performance. So in her seminal study, Dr. Amy Edmondson explored the dynamics of teamwork in healthcare, particularly in hospitals where effective communication and collaboration are critical for team performance and patient safety. Definition of team psychological safety: Edmondson defines psychological safety as the belief that one will not be penalized or humiliated for speaking up with ideas, questions, concerns, or mistakes, which is essential in high-performing teams. Now, what were her key findings? Teams that reported higher psychological safety made more mistakes, but demonstrated better overall performance due to increased learning and open communication. But Mônica, in a hospital, the stakes are high. People can die, right? It's a serious job. Exactly. So if a nurse sees a problem and she's not open enough or brave and feels psychological safety to speak up with the director or the doctor, the problem can escalate. It can be worse. So it's not about hierarchy. It's not about my position versus yours. It's about, this is an open space for me to agree, disagree, raise mistakes that I did or someone did, and that will be okay. I will be safe in this process. So the impact was her research emphasized that fostering psychological safety enhances collaboration and leads to improved patient outcomes in healthcare settings. And healthcare is one area, but this was in 1999. And nowadays, everybody talks about psychological safety. Companies, big names, right? So how did we get from 21 years ago, 26 years ago, to the popular topic now of psychological safety? Project Aristotle. What is it? Has anyone here heard about Project Aristotle before? Okay, good. Thank you, Stephanie. Anyone else? Oh my gosh. Well, one person? Good. You're in for a treat then. So what was Project Aristotle? Project Aristotle was a research project done at Google in 2013 by a woman called Julia Rodvovsky. I hope I'm pronouncing it correctly. And what Google wanted to find out is what made high-performing teams. So they did a research of 2 years with 180 teams, 37,000 employees, and they called it Project Aristotle. What did they find out? That the one key differential of high-performing teams was psychological safety. So they found 5 elements that are really important and crucial, and I'll share with you. But psychological safety was and is the key one. And it was with Project Aristotle that Dr. Amy Edmondson's research became popular, because they found the research and they used it to identify what made the high-performing teams. So up until Project Aristotle and Google talked about it, not many people knew about Dr. Amy Edmondson's research and work. So they popularized it because everybody thinks Google, they must be doing something right. Their teams must be high performance. So what did they find? We had lots of data, but there was nothing showing that a mix of specific personality types or skills or backgrounds made any difference. The who part of the equation didn't seem to matter. Team norms are what makes the difference. Norms are traditions, behavior standards, and written rules that govern how we function when we gather. So it wasn't about having the top Ivy League student or the extroverts in the room or this or that. It was about the norms and how the team and the behaviors, how they implemented this in the organization. So Google's findings, the whole is greater than the sum of the parts, right? And so many of us, we focus on that one individual. How can we focus on the we? So what were the 5 elements from the research? Number 5, impact. Team members think their work matters and creates change. Is that important? Very, very important. Meaning, work is personally important to team members. 3, structure and clarity. And you mentioned that on the high performance points earlier on, right? So team members have clear roles, plans, and goals. Number 2, dependability. Team members get things done on time and meet Google's high bar for excellence. So the 4 elements are really important, but the key differential was psychological safety. Team members feel safe to take risks and be vulnerable in front of each other. So that is the one key differential that Google found. And it became popular, right? So all the news was all about psychological safety, right? Now, a bit of a true or false. Let's have a show of hands. Number 1, smartest individuals in a team guarantee team success. If you think it's true, raise your hand. Okay. Number 2, personalities and backgrounds determine team success. True? Maybe a few. Number 3, strong leadership alone ensures team success. True? Strict rules and structures lead to team success. True? They help, but do they lead? Individual performance drives team success. True? Well, they are all false, because they are all focused on the individual and the personality type or the strict rules. So, of course, having people who are capable and want to do and having rules that and clarity, those are important, but that alone does not dictate a high-performing teams. There were 2 key behaviors, and we can share the article with you after this session, which 2 behaviors that show in high-performing teams. One is equality in distribution of conversation turn-taking, members speaking roughly the same proportion, and high average social sensitivity, which is basically the clues of body language. You know, is this person happy, sad? What are they saying with the non-verbal cues? So being sensitive to listening and caring to those cues. All right? So giving people more time to speak, and equally, not only for the extroverts, and also the average social sensitivity makes a big difference. So now, we talked about TPS leading to team learning, to team performance. We talked about the research from Amy Edmondson. We talked about the Project Aristotle that popularized it. Now, there were 7 statements. The 7 statements that you received are based, they are exactly the same statements from Dr. Amy Edmondson. And what Peter Cavalier, the founder of the program that I deliver, Team Psychological Safety, the only certificate program available now in Hong Kong and China, is Peter translated the 7 statements into simple, easier words and symbol. Okay? So one is reaction to mistakes, dealing with issues, embracing diversity, taking risks, asking for help, mutual support, and appreciation. And today, when you have the facilitation, the breakout sessions, I want you to think of these 7 elements, and you have opportunity to discuss on how am I feeling in this element? How is my team? Now, what happens is these 7 elements, these 7 questions should be done ideally, but by everybody in the team, anonymously. And then a report is generated so you can gauge how is my team feeling or perceiving this. So we looked at the data before. You had an indication on how your team will feel. But that may not be true because we're not getting a perspective from all your team members. So these are the 7 elements of TPS, and those are exactly the same as Dr. Amy Edmondson. And this is the pantheon. Okay, Peter Cavalier, the founder of the program, he's an engineer. So he has to have like structure and things. So as you can see, there's TPS on the bottom. And the 5 elements on the bottom, we won't go into the detail, but if you want to learn more, you can attend my full program. You can reach out with me after, which is supportive organization, communication, trust and respect, leader behavior, team dynamics, practice. Those are the foundations. Amy Edmondson called it the antecedents, the basics of it. And then we work on the 7 elements in order to get higher performance. So that's about Peter. He did his PhD. He's a Belgian PhD based in Bangkok. And how do we measure the 7 elements? So the 7 elements are based on the standard statements of the 7 questions, 7 statements, and 3 open questions. There's a maximum of 12 members in the team. Why 12? There is a sweet spot in having between 4 to 12 people in one team, because if you want to develop trust relationships with everybody, trust is a dyadic relation. It's between one and one. So if I have to develop one-on-one trust within a team, if I have a really large team, that's going to be too hard. So we focus on having sub-teams, up to 12, to measure TPS. So what you do is, your team members, everybody fill out the questionnaire, how you're rating from a scale 1 to 10, and you say how do you feel on those 7 elements. And then you get one report of these participants with where you are. And there's a traffic light. There's also a scale with an average standard deviation. I won't go deep into it, but you will get a report that you can take a look, okay? A sample report. And the idea is you do that report with your team now, and then you apply some changes, some interventions, some training, some mentoring, some new group norms, and then you measure it 3 to 5 months later to see how is my team performing, how is their perception on maybe taking risks or mutual support. And I'm happy to share that today I'll be giving, and I spoke with Peter, one TPS report per team, per organization. Okay? And that means one report in the beginning of the intervention and one after. So it's 2 for 1. You're welcome to use it or not. Not hard selling anything, but it's a good tool to really gauge how your team is performing and how they really, what is their dynamics, all right? You just need to use it within 3 months. So what do these 7 elements and 5 foundations mean to you? So I encourage you to reflect on the 7 elements, right? You already did before you came today, but share with your team. Talk about it. Today we'll have breakout rooms as well. Do the TPS report. Really, I'm not selling it. Just go and do it. Get your team to do it. Look at it and say, oh, what do you think of it? And what can you do differently, better to improve our performance, to develop? Create team interventions, training, shared norms, actions, anything that can move the needle to a high-performing, higher retention, more resilient team. Because what happens many times is we fall into one of those 4 quadrants, right? So either if you have high psychological safety and high motivation accountability, you're in the team learning, and that's where we want the team to be, because when we're learning, we're collaborating, we're learning new things, we're communicating, we're improving, we're performing, right? That's where we want it to be. And the last thing you want your teams to be doing is to fall into the low psychological safety. I can't speak up. I better be quiet. I'm not going to get in trouble if I don't disagree, speak up. And low motivation, right? So how can we get into the green zone? How can we move, or even on the comfort zone or the anxiety zone, right? Building team norms, creating different trainings and communication and activities, and then moving up the needle and finding where of these 7 elements do we want to focus on and do we need to improve and develop, or what are we already doing great and we want to celebrate as well, right? It's not only about finding the problem. Oh, my report was great. Good. Let's not find a problem there either. All right. So I think I'm going well with the time, right? Yay. Okay. Putting it all together. So I talk about the research. I talk about the 7 elements. I would love for you to take this learning and focus on the team, not only on the high performance. Remember the super chicken. build shared and common norms, right? What are the common norms from how you speak up, what everybody having to share? Look at the 7 elements and the 5 foundations, and you will in the breakout room a little bit, with honesty and to create action. And I'll leave you with what can you do differently or a little better after this session to build a more resilient and high-performing team. And do the best you can until you know better. Then when you know better, do better. Maya Angelou. So thank you so much, everybody. This is my name, my contact. Please get in touch on LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook. And I think we have time for one question, or? Yeah. Oh, yeah? Okay, good. Yeah, thank you, everybody. Thanks for listening.
So, who has any questions for Mônica?
Hey, I like it.
Sorry, Mônica, so I think I'm coming from the background of the part which said true and false statements, and the second statement was about personalities and backgrounds. Fundamentally, when it's a small and a very diverse team, you're looking at building the foundation of trust based on personalities and their backgrounds. Is it critical to the success of the team that way, or is it something that doesn't need to be highlighted, or otherwise, what would be the best strategy to move that forward?
Yeah, thank you for your question. I think we all still look at the personality and the fitting of that person or not in an organization. And I'm not saying don't do it. I think you need to feel that person is aligned with your values and your culture. But sometimes people have a fixed mindset or a fixed idea of, oh, we already have 2 introverts, let's get an extrovert. Or we already have this, let's get that. Right? We have to have somebody from this place or that place. So that in itself will not ensure high performing. Because what we want is to create the team that will collaborate and embrace those differences. One is embracing diversity. So even when I am different, I will embrace it. So I'm not going to be so picky about that. So, but yeah, thank you. Does that answer your question? Any more questions or thoughts or yes?
Thank you. I want to ask something. So the TPS you talked about, is the measurement like focus on more individual? Like for example, if I feel like my workplace and my team very like positive and safety, but maybe my coworker doesn't feel like the same way that I feel. So maybe I'm very comfortable with sharing my mistakes and my concerns, but maybe he or she doesn't like really willing to, share about her or his mistake or concerns. So in that case, we view it as like a team, like how to say, like score of TPS as a team or like as an individual.
Very good question. What's your name?
Ellie.
Ellie. Thank you, Ellie. So what happens is when you do the report, you're answering from your perspective, and you're putting it on a scale 1 to 7. So let's say on dealing with issues, you find that you have no problem, so you're putting like on 6 or 7, like, oh, I'm very good at dealing with issues. Or maybe asking for help, maybe I'm a 3. So then what happens when everybody in your team, let's say there are 10 people in your team, they respond to this. We get the data, not me, it's all anonymous, and then we put into a report, and the report has 2 important items. One is a traffic light, which may show like, okay, maybe in Ellie's team, mutual support is a bit of it's on the red traffic zone, and then appreciation is also on the red. But other things are actually on the orange and green, so that's good, so you find your focus. But another thing that will come up is a standard deviation. Let's say 5 people in your team thinks that this is a problem, whereas others 5 think it's not. That is actually worse, because that means your team is not aligned where the problem is. Because it's almost better if like you have a lot of orange or red, because then you're like, I see where I can work on, and like, oh, I see these 3 elements are here are on the red. So we all agree on the problem. Now, if we don't agree on the problem, then it's a bit more work, because then the interventions need to be more more thought out on how do you get alignment. And maybe it is that somebody will have to leave, or maybe there's an alignment of that one or two person in that team, or not, we don't know. But the point of the report as well is not to try to find out that one individual. As a leader, the report is not made for you to who is in trouble, it's how do we as a team work. All right, my time is up. Does that answer your question, Ali?
Thank you. So if everyone thinks like that, like one, one of the 7 elements is like a problem, then you said it's okay. But if they found out like different thing is like problem, you said it's worse. Then how can we like overcome if we like face those kind of situation?
Then you need to work as a team to see what are the interventions and things you can create in that team to improve. Maybe group training, maybe different norms in meetings, maybe norms about behavior speaking up. Those are the things that we hope in the breakout room you practice a little bit. But of course, this is not something that will be solved in one training or one. It's then as an organization you say, okay, for the next 4 months, these are the things we'll try to implement, mentoring, training, shared, whatever it is, from different dynamics. And then you measure the report again in 4 or 5 months. Does that help?
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you. All right. Thank you. Okay, I was told that's it. Time is up. Thank you, everybody.